let's just sew whatever. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be making the Hexatote from Sewfisticated crafts. This was a super fun pattern to make. I did not use a ton of interfacing. Everything I used as far as interfacing was just peel and stick. Therxfuse from Fabric Therapy, hopefully I'm saying that right. I did change up the pattern by adding a slip pocket here instead of the zippered pocket. It was a super quick little change, but that is it. It's got this zippered part here to make it so it will go onto a luggage sleeve, a suitcase. Otherwise this zips up and you've got a slip pocket with a magnetic snap. It opens with a magnetic snap and then has a zippered closure here. And then on the inside, we've got a zippered pocket and then two sets of slip pockets. I did change those up because I placed my zipper pocket too low, but I like it that way. And yeah, this pattern is pretty straightforward. I really enjoyed making it, and I hope to do more from Sewfisticated Crafts. Enjoy! This pattern includes a cut list, which is really handy for a pattern with this many pieces. I used a 1mm thick vinyl from my website. It's the Luxe vinyl, so it has a really nice microfiber backing. I used that peel and stick interfacing from Fabric Therapy. It made it go so quick, and I didn't need to use my iron or heat press, so I loved that. And then I used a waterproof canvas for the lining, which required no interfacing as well. So it was a really interfacing light project. Let's get started with our handles. I have cut mine to 18 inches. I just decided I'm gonna use the width of my vinyl roll, and these are cut to 4 inches wide. So we are making faux rolled handles. The vinyl I'm using is a little bit thick. It's 1mm thick. It is the Luxe vinyl in the color Raisin. It will be available on my website, I believe, in December. Which, my goodness, is coming sooner than I think. So I'm folding the long raw edges in towards the center. And if you need to, you can mark that out. I feel like I've made thousands of straps in my life and I can kind of see the center. I do like to leave a little space in between as I'm folding over, so that there's room for the fabric to sit nice and flat. Okay, and then I'm going to use their method of folding the strap over again. I'm going to use some double-sided tape. It'll just make it a little bit easier since I can't really sew all the way around yet. I used to use a lot of double-sided tape when I was making straps like this. Let me do it again. Why not? I have so much double-sided tape. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to mark 5 inches. Oh. I'm going to throw everything on the ground. Oh my gosh. All right, 5 inches up. And I am marking on the folded edge, not the open edge, because the folded edge may shift as I sew, so I don't want to start there. All right, so I'm going to start at that 5-inch line on the folded edge. I'm going to backstitch, come down, and across, and then all the way down this side. And make sure as you're moving, you don't wipe away that 5-inch line. Leaving my needle in, I'm pivoting across the bottom. And then I'm meeting up to that 5-inch line and back stitching, leaving my threads long. I'm just gonna leave like that. Leave it like that for now. We're gonna repeat that on the other strap. Okay. And again, marking 5 inches up on the folded edge, not the open edge. I should say the single fold edge, not the double fold, because technically all the edges are folded, but this edge has 2 folds, and that's the edge we're marking. That's the edge we are not marking. We are marking the single fold edge. It's fine. So I'm going to start on the single fold side, about 1/8 of an inch from the outer edge, back stitching, coming down across the bottom, and then back up that side. We're going to sew all the way down this side, the double fold side. Back up to that 5-inch line, back stitch, and pull. And then I'm going to use another piece of double-sided tape just in this section. "18 inches is, I wouldn't say it's a little short, but it's more of a grab handle length than a shoulder strap length, so keep that in mind. There we go. Peeling that up, and then I'm going to fold this at that line. So it's pretty thick, but I know my industrial can handle it. I shouldn't have added my tape in the center, because it's not going to stick to itself. Here we go. All right, and so now we're going to sew from one edge to the other. I can use some clips here just to help me hold that in place. All right, so we're going to start where my stitches are ending on this side and end in that same place on the other side. So this is a little too bulky for a domestic, but the pattern instructions do state that this is too bulky for a domestic. Make sure you're using a thinner vinyl. I think the accessory weight vinyl I sell, this could be done on a domestic, no problem. All right, so then I'm gonna pull my threads to one side and tie or just cut it off. It looks so good. And because this vinyl is so thick, it really has a nice girth. Sorry, I hate that word, but it's true. It does. Okay. And so that is how you create that rolled handle. And there is a guide for where you add your rivets through your handles, etc. when we add it to the bag. So we're just going to set those aside for now. And I'm going to repeat that on this side as well. I don't know that the double-sided tape really helped at all hold anything together. Maybe if I'd used a little stronger, it may have. I don't know. All right. Okay. And then any extra little fuzzies or anything like that, you could just take a lighter to very gently. Oh, I love them. I'm definitely going to be using this method on other handles. So pretty. I'm going to start with the main front panel because I've decided to change it up. Are we surprised? No. So I folded that center piece, this piece here, down at the bottom line of the zipper pocket to make a slip pocket. So I've gone ahead and cut out 2 waterproof canvas, which is my contrasting fabric. And I'm going to just sew those right sides together at the top. And then I'm going to fold that open, press, and top stitch along the top edge. I thought about adding a little bit of piping to this pocket, but decided it doesn't matter. I'm just going to top stitch along that edge. I've been sewing on my pink machine. I'm so used to the needle positioner and the piece that like lifts it up. It's so nice. All right, so then I'm going to line these up on that panel. I didn't want to add a zippered pocket. I just wanted a super quick slip pocket for like a phone or something. So then I'm going to lay the front panel accents into place, right sides together, so we can sew that seam. And if you wanted to baste that pocket into place, it couldn't hurt. My stitch length is at like a 4.5. And I have not used any interfacing on these pieces so far, but I will be using Therxfuse, but it's a self-adhesive interfacing, which blows my mind, but it's really great if you don't have a heat press, or if you just don't have the mental energy to sit there and interface as well. It's so quick and so easy. This is my first time using it. It was sent to me by my friend Nancy, but I did purchase, I think like 10 yards of it, just because I love the idea and it's really nice. It's almost like a fleece, but it's a little sturdier than that, and then it has this plastic backing, and you can press it with a heat press if you would like to. All right, so then you can either butterfly this seam open, which is what the pattern instructions say to do, and then you could top stitch along either side of that seam, but I'm just going to fold it over and top stitch on the vinyl. Oh, I need to move my light. There we go. So I'm just pressing that down and top stitching on the vinyl. That's beautiful. So there is my front panel. We've got a lovely slip pocket there. I could add a nameplate, which I will do in a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and just show you how easy this is to fuse into place. I still have to add my strap connectors, etc., but I think I'll just do that through the interfacing. So you can just peel off a little bit at a time. Figure out where you want it, line it up, and you do have a little bit of repositioning available if it's not quite in the place you need it or want it to be. But that's it. So on piece it like how I pieced that together, if I had pressed this, I could have risked melting parts of my vinyl because it's raised in areas, but since it's something you just press on, it's so easy. And then if you were to butterfly your stitches, you could press those open, lay your interfacing down, and then stitch through it as well. But yeah, this stuff is great. You can tell it's on there. Like I can't even... I mean, if I really tried to peel it up, I could, but then again, you can press this with a heat press or iron gently, of course. So I love this. All right, so I'm kind of jumping around in the pattern, so I apologize, but I just want to get certain parts out of the way on the exterior and then we can move on. So I am working on the back luggage sleeve. This is totally optional, but what we're going to do is put our exterior and lining right sides together and sew across the top, which is the shorter piece of that trapezoidal shape. I am using an accessory weight vinyl for this so that it's not adding bulk, but it's still going to hold up nicely, and waterproof canvas. So I'm going to press this seam and top stitch along that top edge. And then we're going to be adding a zipper to the bottom of this. And initially, before I looked over the pattern, I was a little worried about adding a zipper straight to the bottom. I thought about adding a little bit of fabric below it as well, because if it's on the bottom of your bag, if you're moving the bag around a lot, you could risk messing with that zipper. but the way the bottom is attached, it adds that little bit of extra, and it's not directly touching the floor. So, genius design. All right, so we've got that top stitched. And then we're going to be adding a magnetic snap and the zipper, of course, and then this will be attached to this panel. I love those colors together. All right, so carrying on, we are going to add our magnetic snaps to the lining side of this pocket. And it says to do that 3/4 of an inch below the top center. And honestly, this could be give or take, it doesn't have to be exact. And this would be another great way and place to use the self-adhesive, especially little scraps, which I meant to grab. What did I do with them? There they are. Okay. Since sometimes it can be an awkward spot to use your iron, what have you, you can just take a little scrap of this and interface super quick. I love it. You could probably keep a pair of tweezers nearby. The one issue I've had is peeling off the tape, but it's not that hard. It's just because it's so sticky. So I'm just gonna kind of set that in place. It's that easy. It's really that easy. All right. So 3/4 of an inch centered. And I am using 18mm ultra thin magnetic snap. I have these on my website. Grab washers. So I just marked out my center, marking out the parallel lines to poke through on this side. And you'll want to add the magnetic snap before you add your zipper, or you won't have easy access to lining only. I wanted to add the outie portion of the magnet to this side. With an ultra slim, it doesn't matter that much, but I don't want, like, I don't know, I don't think it matters, truly. One side is magnetic, of course, and one side isn't, so if that really matters to you, go with your gut there. But I like it better when it falls to the bag. I think it doesn't matter either way. Okay. So you want to keep in mind which way you want your zipper pull facing. And I don't know. This one, the pull is to the right, so I'm just going to keep consistent with that. I'm going to use double-sided tape, of course. Oh, my thinner one. Using that right along the bottom edge. Pressing it down and then peeling up. I did iron my zipper, and I do have my zipper long enough that it's within the seam allowance. And then I'm going to add another piece of double-sided tape to press the lining down. And then we'll sew that just about as close as you can get to the zipper tape. And I'm going to pull this through. It. And then if you are worried about the magnetic snap here, we can grab another little piece of that self-adhesive. I'm cutting it in the shape of a circle so it's a little less harsh. And I'll just press that on my vinyl over the snap. You can see it makes it a little less defined, and then it adds a little bit of stability over that. And, I mean, if you wanted to, you could also add that over your magnetic snap as well. I guess that's something I could have done, huh? All right, so then we are going to top stitch this zipper in place. If you need to, you can iron from your lining side or use a seam roller or just get some good finger pressing in. And so now this is a pocket that's going to get sewn to our exterior. So I'm going to use another piece of double-sided tape. Double-sided tape is my friend. It's my best friend. That's my fucking best friend. That's my fucking right. Yeah. All right. And then lay your zipper right up against that bottom edge. And so what this zipper does is it creates a closed off slip pocket, unless you want it to be a luggage sleeve, in which case you'd unzip it. I tried to brainstorm before I started this a way to make it so it's still a slip pocket even if you're using it as a luggage sleeve, and I was like, meh, it's not worth the extra energy, it's not that big of a deal. But I do want to mark out where I want my other magnetic snap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press so that I get a nice little indentation, and then I can add my other magnetic snap to this side, nice and lined up. And I already added my Therxfuse, so it's nice and stable. Now that is nice and magnetic shut. I'm going to baste this side, both sides into place, really. And you could sew along the bottom too if you wanted. And then you can trim off some of that extra zipper tape, but I like to leave a little bit still within that seam allowance for added security, and then we can prevent it from fraying by just hitting it with that lighter. All right. So now we are moving on to adding piping to the side panels, and I love piping. I'm gonna make sure I iron my piping really quick. I did add the self-adhesive stabilizer, and I'm gonna measure 3/4 of an inch on each side. This is where we're going to start and stop our piping. I am using pre-made piping. I'm not using my own. I didn't feel like making it to myself, but yeah, I'm gonna iron this really quick. Making sure I use steam where possible. Obviously, if you're using a vinyl, that's not really, it's not an option. And then if you need to, you can use double-sided tape to help you hold it into place. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold at a 90-degree angle and line it up at the top edge so that it trails off into that seam allowance. And then just line up that edge of the binding piping with the edge of the exterior fabric. And I just use clips to help me hold this in place. But like I said, if you need to, you could use 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape. I would not use anything thicker, or you could risk seeing it. And then at that 3/8, not that 3/8, that 3/4, I'm just gonna fold the piping again at a 90-degree angle. So that's what that looks like. And then I'm gonna sew super close to that piping, but not through it. Super close on the bias tape of the binding piping, god damn it, but not through it. And this pre-made is super thin, so you don't necessarily need to switch to a piping foot. And then depending on your skill set, you may want to sew around that edge again. You can see here, this is starting to kind of lift, and I've had it catch in the exterior before, and when you see it, it's no fun. So I like to just tack it down again along that outermost edge. And then you can just trim off that extra little bit so it's nice and flush. And we'll just repeat that on the other side. Again, you want to fold that piping at a 90-degree angle. Just clip it into place. The measurements of how much piping you will need are given in the cut list. And it is a little bit more than you actually need, so that's nice. So you've got a little room to play. There you go. And just repeat sewing that into place. I like to start at the very top of my fabric and then sew onto the piping versus starting at the piping. I find it easier when I sew the bag all the way together to follow that line as a seam allowance guide all the way down. Okay. All right, side panels are prepped, ready to go. We'll set those aside for now, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, I have my strap connector tab, piece F1, and my back panel pattern piece to mark out my strap connectors. I'm going to add double-sided tape down the center of this. We're going to be cutting this into 4 strips, and we want to top stitch all the way through before we cut it. And for this one, you do want to butt up those raw edges right next to each other so it is a true 1 inch. So instead of sewing around all 4 sides, I just did the 2 long sides, and then I'm going to fold it in half. Cut it in half, and then fold each one of those in half to cut those in half. So then we can grab our 1 inch square rings and our front and back panels. I'll go ahead and start with my front panel. It's not that I don't trust the pattern piece, I just prefer measurements. So I'm going to measure. This needs to be like 2 inches from the center, 1 inch wide, 2 inches from the center, and like 9 1/4 tall, 2 inches from the center. So I'll fold this in half. Got my center lined up, 9 1/4 from the bottom. And 2 inches in. Nine 1/4. 2 inches in. And then just kind of eyeball that to make sure it looks good. All right, so I marked out my 1 inch line, but you want your little angled pieces to be within that 1 inch line. So I just kind of moved those over a little bit. And we're gonna slice in to the angled piece and then make that straight line being careful not to overcut past that 1 inch. So I'll slice in again at that angle. Within the 1 inch line. Be careful you don't cut yourself. If you need to use little scissors for that or something, you can. So here is what it's looking like. You can see it's got the little Y-shaped edges. And if you need to clean it up, what you can do is just take your seam ripper and do the straight line. And then you could take a pair of like micro tip and just make a very gentle cut into the fabric. Right. I need my pattern. All right, so take F1 and slide it into the strap connector slit. Place F1 right side together with new A. Slide 1/3 of F1 into the slit pointing towards the bottom of new A. This is almost like opposite of what I'm used to doing. So normally I'd go in and come down. Which is, yeah, I guess that's kind of what we're doing. But, let's see, let's clean that up a little bit. So I didn't quite cut through that inner facing, and I'm gonna need that to be free so that I can sew the connector, there we go, to my exterior fabric. So, kind of like that, because then this is going to come down and go under. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to fold this down and sew that little flap to the connector. Just make sure that your connector is in there straight and that you're only sewing through that little flap area. You don't want to catch any more of your fabric. That would be very bad. Okay. And I'm going to fold this down and inside. And you'll repeat that step, sewing through the flap and your connector. Although I almost feel like the instructions are the opposite, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. That's so cool. All right, and then we have this little extender piece, which is really genius, honestly. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So let me show you. You add this strip and you sew your connectors to this strip of waterproof canvas or interfacing or whatever. And then it's helping to redistribute the weight of that connector. So I'm going to show you this one and then I'll just speed through the rest. And I will be riveting through this as well. But you sew it here and here, and then you're going to attach it to the exterior so that it's within your seams as well. And then, like, the weight isn't just in those two little places, it's evenly distributed all the way around. And I just think that is so freaking smart. So then I'm gonna add a rivet in the center, right underneath, right there, and then I'll speed through the others. So I'm just repeating those steps to the other side, securing the top and bottom to the little excess pieces on the front panel, and then securing that excess waterproof canvas to those as well. I also went ahead and added my nameplate, and then I'm repeating on the other side. I found that using my seam ripper to cut down the center and then micro tip scissors to cut into the corners worked really well. I was able to be very precise with what I was cutting. And then for these, you just want to make sure that that waterproof canvas strip is nice and flat so it doesn't create any weird warping in your bag. All right, so now we are ready to move on to adding our purse feet because we are almost done with the exterior, which is so exciting. I feel like the interior is going to move pretty quickly. It's a lot of like zippered pockets, that kind of stuff. Super, super easy. So I'm going to mark out my purse feet placement really quick. Probably could have used a hole punch, but whatever. And then you can add some stitch lines, it looks like. I don't really feel like adding those stitch lines, so I'm not gonna. Just gonna open these up. If you're using like screw-on purse feet or rivet-on purse feet, you can do whatever you'd like. I'm using just the regular old push-through purse feet. I'm going to secure the bottoms with washers and then duct tape. And then I added some of that fusible to the lining so that it didn't poke through or anything like that, but you could add that fusible over top of the purse feet as well. I'm not using any Decaville Heavy. I'm really curious to see how these 2 layers of Therxfuse work. So I've twisted all of my purse feet to go perpendicular to the way they were inserted so that it's a nice tight fit. And then I'm adding double-sided tape that I reorganized my drawers. And I don't know where the tape went. Oh, it's right there on the table. I like to use duct tape to secure. Is it called duct tape because of the noise it makes? I've never Never questioned it until this moment. I always thought it was like duct tape, and it works for air ducts. But maybe it's because of the noise it makes. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to add this to our exterior panels. 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to start with my side that has the zipper pull. So I got to be careful with this one. I'm going to move my zipper pull out of the way to start, making sure those edges are lined up. Right, and then we're getting closer to the zipper pull, so I'm going to leave my needle in and zip that back up and continue sewing. And then I'm going to open this up and top stitch. Yeah. And I couldn't get as close to the zipper as I would have liked. So what I'm doing is I'm folding that seam up just a little bit more as I top stitch. Just make sure you're folding it consistently. And on the other side, sew together. Folding that seam allowance down. Top stitching through the bottom panel. And then I'm going to fold this in half and snip my center along the bottom so that we can add the side panel. And then it doesn't hurt if you didn't already transfer that side panel marking to do that now. It's about 2 inches down from that rounded edge. So keep that in mind. Now, what I'm gonna do is I like to add double-sided tape instead of staples nowadays. And I'm just gonna add it along the curve. It'll just help hold everything in place. So I'm gonna fold my bottom or my side panel in half, snipping out the center, and then I'm going to line up the center. And then you'll line up your side panel mark. and then ease out the curve. So we'll line up where the side panel should meet. And then just kind of pinch around the curve so those pieces sit together nicely. And you'll see how nice it is to have that double-sided tape, just extra little hold. Now, if you are lining up your side panel and your bottom curve has a little extra bulk in it, just measure down on each side and you can move your side panels down just a little bit. Just so long as it's equal on both sides, you should be okay. Okay. This is what it's looking like. And then you want to sew right next to, but not through, the piping. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to sew next to, but not through the piping. So I'm coming in like 1/8 of an inch from my existing stitch line. My stitch length is still at about 4.5, which is fine. And then I'm pulling up on the curve as I slowly stitch around. And then I'm going to leave my needle in as I get to the flatter portion of the curve and re-situate my layers. And just slowly I'm pulling on this curve as my machine feeds the fabric. And that double-sided tape is just helping ensure that those layers don't shift around on me. Staples will also work. And then we're getting to a flat portion, so I can set all that down and sew through. And back stitch. And then just kind of double check that you sewed right next to that piping, but not through it. All the way along the edge. If you need to, you can turn it right side out, but you can see I'm right next to it, but not through it. Looks good. So then we'll just repeat that on the other side, and I'm going to unzip my zipper to about halfway, if not further. And then trim away any extra threads, but don't trim away that extra zipper, okay? Just don't. Do yourself a favor. Just don't. Don't do it. And then I'm going to add this double-sided tape along that bottom edge where the curve will be. And snip out the center of this side panel. It feels so good to sew. I could do this all day. I feel like I haven't gotten to sew in just the longest time. All right, lining up right sides together. A little snip. And then if you had to adjust your side panel on one side, just make sure that you're adjusting it the same amount on the other side. And then you can peel off that tape. Make sure everything sits nicely. Get back here. And I'm re-clipping. Like, is that my chair or my child? All right, so then you can just double check that everything sits nicely. What a mess. It looks like such a mess, but it's gonna look so good when it's done. Oh man, all right, and we're repeating on this side. Just come in about 1/8 of an inch from that existing line of stitching on that binding or that piping, and you'll be good to go. Okay, last little bit. Oh man, my thread is shredding. Oh, yikes. That happens sometimes. So because that happened, I'm gonna back up just a little bit, back stitch gently, and continue on. And then press up against the seam, make sure everything feels good. Everything looks good. Oh, you can't see anything. Not the greatest lighting. That and my colors are super dark, but that looks good. So we can set this aside for now. It's a really nice size bag. It's not, I mean, like, it's big, but it's not like massive. We can move on to the lining. All right, so I have grabbed my main lining pieces, my bottom panel, and slip pocket 1 and slip pocket 2. I did not realize what the little binding piece was for. It's piece BP, and that you can cut out of vinyl to put on the top of your slip pockets. And like I said, I did not do that. So what I'm gonna do is just put right sides together and flip. Yeah, for both. I'm not, if you use a small enough seam allowance, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. And this bag is for me, and I don't care. I still have not run out of bobbin, but it's gonna be soon. Okay, then we're gonna fold this open and top stitch. I love this waterproof canvas so much. So there are my 2 slip pockets. Well, that's cute. It's almost lined up perfectly. I do want to add a little not woven, but a little tag from the Heartwood and Hide. So I'm going to do that super quick. And I don't want it to be centered because I think I'm going to be adding some like stitch lines through this. So I'm just going to like kind of willy-nilly place it. And just sew around that outside edge carefully. I did open up my lining layers so that you don't see your threads on the back side. Okay. So I can set those aside, and I believe I'm working on my zippered pocket next. So I'm going to fold this in half really quick. And then I cut my overlay a little bit different. Instead of it being rounded, I just went with a square. So I'm going to add double-sided tape. Oh, let's put it in the drawer. To the very top, the very bottom. I'm not following the method in this pattern exactly. I'm just doing the pattern or the method that I've enjoyed doing recently. I have some cute matching woven labels. I don't know if I've mentioned this in a video, but I organized all of my woven labels into little containers, and it's changed my life. Just being able to see what you have all laid out and know that like they're in a nice little container. It's nice. As my husband would say, you're really obsessed with organizing right now. I'm like, well, that's true. So I'm peeling the tape off of one side, laying this down where it feels right, centered. Let's see. Looks like 1 inch from the top. I'm at like 1.5 inch. It's just, again, it's what feels right to you. It's not gonna matter. And then before I press this side down, I'm gonna press my woven label in and under that. And then I'm just gonna sew around the outside edge. And there are some people that prefer to cut the box first on your lining. I say go for it. Because you could cut like a 1 inch by 8 inch opening or something. Let me use my seam ripper just to cut through the waterproof canvas. And then you can use micro snips or like duck build scissors or something to cut away the excess. And I like to use scissors that I know their strength. And then with waterproof canvas, you can see all I have to do is drag a nice sharp part of the scissors across and it'll cut through it for me. Easy peasy. Oh, that's cute. All right, and then I'll grab my zipper and my lining pieces. And I'm just going to attach these with the zipper face up. So it's fabric right side up, zipper right side up, and sew this to the top. If you want, you could use double-sided tape and fold it open and then sew. Like you could fold this down and then sew it underneath. I don't know. I like to do it this way. It doesn't hurt my brain. You know what I mean? Sometimes there are things that you're like, no, that hurts my brain, and I'm not doing that. That's one of them. At least right now. Now we want this to sit flat. This won't do. We want this to sit flat. So if your fabric isn't cooperating or you don't have your iron prepped and ready, you can sew that flat, which is kind of what I was saying in the beginning, is like you could open it, double-sided tape, fold it down, and then skip a step. Whatever. I think this way it's double secured. Alrighty. And now I'm gonna take double-sided tape. That should be a drinking game. Every time someone in a video tutorial says double-sided tape, you drink. I don't drink, so you can, but good luck. Don't drive anywhere. All right, I'm gonna peel off the top of the double-sided tape. And my zipper pull is to the left. I'm gonna center the zipper tape and then peel off the other side. And then press it nice and flat. That's very pretty. Okay. And then I like to start top stitching at the point where the zipper pull is. I have not pulled it in yet, but I will before I finish off my stitching. Pivot. Now I'm using a fairly large zipper pull, so I want to leave myself plenty of space. Leave your needle in the fabric, push your zipper pull in. I don't think I left myself enough room. We got it. This is a big boy. All right, zip it shut again. Hold on to the tape. Unzip it so that the zipper pulls out of the way. Make sure your tape stayed lined up. If you need to, again, just kind of re-zip. Okay. Beautiful. And then the zipper pocket, I'm going to fold that down, cut them so they're even. Almost cut through too much. Again, that's why I like to know how much I'm cutting through with my scissors. All right. And then since this bag is going to be birthed through the bottom and a pocket, we fold all of those layers up and sew all the way to the top, going through my zipper teeth. And repeat that on the other side, but in the opposite direction. I'm going to sew through my zipper teeth, and then fold up my lining, all the edges together. There we go. Trim off your excess stuff. You can open up that seam, press it flat, so when we turn the bag through, just top stitch through there. All right, so then we can, oh darn. Because I placed my zipper pocket up too high, this little thing won't work, but here's what I want to do. And this might be dumb. I don't know. We'll see. Is I'm going to add both pockets to the same side. So I went like a big open slip pocket for that side, and then small sectioned slip pocket on this side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clip 3 of these lining pieces together, but the very back lining piece, I'm gonna keep it out of the way. And I'm gonna fold this in half to make my little crease line. And I'm just gonna do a little box stitch, about 1/8 of an inch from each side, up, down, I should say up to the side, back stitch, and then back down. And then I can add a little rivet there if I want to, but I don't want to. So you can't see the stitches on this side, but that's nice and secure. And then I can add all 4 pieces of lining to this other side of my lining. And then if you wanted to add a magnetic snap to the big pocket, like the instructions show, you can, but I think I just want a slip pocket. If you wanted to make that padded, you could add a little bit of foam, or you could add a little bit of that peel and stick interfacing. Just keep it out of your seam allowances. So I'm gonna baste all of this together and hopefully run out of bobbin while I do that. Dang it, I did not. And then you can trim all of your threads. I'm using the prototype of some new snips I have coming, and they've got a really wide blade, long blade. But I'm really enjoying it. I like it. Anyway, cool. Love that for you, Lauren. All right, now I've got my bottom panel, and I'm gonna go ahead and sew this all the way to the side with my slip pockets, using that like 3/8 inch seam allowance we used on the exterior as well. And again, hopefully run out of bobbin. It's so close. So close. I'm gonna change it. I can't top stitch knowing, oh, there we go. Yeah. It had nothing. It would not have finished top stitching. All right. So I did make 4 bobbins for this bag, knowing I would probably only need 3, but it looks like just 2. There is no crossbody strap given for this bag, but you could attach it to those simple square rings if you wanted. I'm not going to attach the other side of my lining just yet because I still need to add the top and my zipper panel. But we're running out of pattern pieces, which is always really exciting. I did not add any interfacing to my side panels, but if you are wanting the side panels of your bag to be super structured, you could cut out some more of that self-adhesive interfacing out of the seam allowances, or you could add just a little bit of woven interfacing, whatever floats your boat. But let's go ahead and work on our recessed zipper panel, and then we can add our final magnetic snap. I am using waterproof canvas for my zipper panel, and I added a 1-inch piece of that peel and stick interfacing because I didn't love the idea of it being a super loose zipper panel. I wanted it to have some structure to it. And then my lining part of the zipper panel, I did cut a little bit wider just to give myself some room. So I'm gonna fold, I think the instructions show to do like a right sides together situation for one part of this, but I'm gonna do the method I'm used to for it. It is a pretty small zipper panel, so it's not gonna hold a lot of your stuff in. Like, it's not gonna keep your bag from completely tumbling out. If you've ever made the Velora bag, this is kind of a similar shape in a way, in that it's got those lower side panels and taller center panels, but the construction is a little bit different. So I'm hoping it's not too bad. And my Velora pattern is more square than this one. Okay. So then if your panel is fussy cut to meet up any certain way, this is where your zipper will go. So this is where you want to add your double-sided tape for the zipper to sit on. And then this is the other side of the panel, and you're not going to see this, so I don't care what side it's on. You can see I do have some white showing. That I know is going to be trimmed off, and it's the underside of the zipper panel. I don't think you're gonna see it. All right, and then for the zipper, I cut it way longer than it needed to be, but you're gonna fold over at a 90-degree angle, trim it so it's even, and then you can either baste it in place with some stitches, or this one may not. Fuse very easily. Connor. And just make sure it's even on both sides. It's so weird not having the air conditioning like fan going this whole time. It's so quiet. Oh my gosh, come on, fingers. This tape is actually really sturdy. So that's kind of what's getting me right now. There we go. Okay, I think I can breathe now. I'm gonna unzip my zipper. Make sure it doesn't come all the way undone. I'm gonna take one side to the exterior. And then grab one of your lining pieces. And we're just gonna sew along that straight edge. And what I like to do is start about 1/8 of an inch from the top and end about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. Trim those extra threads, and then we'll fold it open and top stitch around all 4 sides. Oh yeah, that little bit of interfacing really makes a difference. And since it's not in your seam allowances, it's not adding a ton of bulk. It's just adding a little structure. All the way around the 4 sides. Since I left a little extra of my lining, I can just trim that away so that all sides are even. And then I'm going to zip this up so that I can lay my other exterior in line the other side. And then peel off the tape for your other lining side. And using this like taping the sides method, if something isn't lining up, like let's say these top edges here aren't even, you can just refold, which makes it really easy. And I've got all that double-sided tape holding those layers together, so I can unzip this and start again about 1/8 of an inch from that bottom edge, going all the way up, back stitch, and we're going to open that up. And lay it flat. And again, if things aren't lining up, you can just kind of re-tape. Zip that up, make sure everything is aligned nicely, and then we're going to fold it in half to find the center. The snips cut thread really well, but they don't cut other stuff really well. Okay, there we go. So now that is ready to go. I left the tail of my zipper really long, just in case. I'm going to snip the center of the waterproof canvas as well. And then we're going to grab the top edge, the interior zipper gusset piece EA exterior, which I have stabilized because you really want the top of the bag to be nice and structured. And then I'm going to add my magnetic snap. I'm not using the ultra thin for this, but you definitely can. And then the last little bit of hardware I have is my zipper end. There should be a little plastic cap and paste film protecting your magnetic snap. Goodbye, paste film. All right. Snipping out the center of this as well so I can line up all 3 centers. Easy peasy. All right, let's see. How high up is this? All right, so this is at 1 1/4. Yeah, 1 1/4 down from the top. Or like 1 3/8 up from the bottom. But honestly, probably doesn't matter that much as long as you're consistent. But I'm gonna do a 1 1/4 down from the top. This is really cool interfacing. I know I keep saying that, but it's like a dense fleece. It's really cool. I'm excited to see the bag finished with it. Nancy, the owner of Fabric Therapy, she used this on the bag in the workshop, and it definitely isn't a replacement for Decaville Light. It doesn't have as much like structure, but it adds a nice softness to the bag and still sturdy. So you know, everything has its place, of course. All right, so I like my zippers going in the same direction. So I'm going to start with the side that my zipper is attached. And then you're going to lay the zipper panel centered, and then the top of your the exterior piece of your lining, lining up those edges on the top edge. This is piece EA. All right, and then this is a 3/8 inch seam allowance as well. And then you can either top stitch it under the zipper panel or over the zipper panel. So it depends on if you want what we call a turkey or a depressed zipper panel. It's up to you. I always like a depressed zipper panel. I can't help it. I like it in the bag versus sitting up in the bag, especially when we go to top stitch. So yeah, but honestly, either one for this bag would look great. And it will depend on your machine's capabilities. Like right now I'm sewing through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 layers of fabric and interfacing, etc. So if you're going the other way, you're not sewing through as much of that fabric. But look how nice that top stitch is. So now the zipper panel will lay in versus sitting up. Yeah, it truly does not matter. Oh, I don't know where that was. And then this is the other side. snap together nicely. All right, and then we are going to just kind of sew along the side edges of this piece, but otherwise this is where we're going to be turning the bag through. But we still have to attach our side panels, so you want to sew like 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit more. You just want it to be a wider opening than your zipper pocket is, so keep that in mind. And then we'll be sewing the rest of that up in the bottom of the bag. Okay. Unzip this, because now it's time to add our side panels. So, lining, all right, let's re-snap that shut and find the centers of the bottom. Now I top stitched through one of my bottom panels, but I'm not going to be able to do that on the other. This bag is for me, most likely, and I do not care. But if you care, please keep that in mind. And don't top stitch. It's that easy. Or you could fake top stitch, but I really don't think that would work, honestly. All right, so since I kept my zipper tail super long, I won't have any issues adding my lining panel. Adding that same amount of double-sided tape just to help keep everything nicely lined up. Center snips lined up first. And then we can line up the rest. And I'm pinching the curves together as I go. And that double-sided tape and the waterproof canvas holds together really nicely. But you should still add clips. Oh, that's my baby. All right, and then we're going to use a 3/8 inch seam allowance to start, but then we're going to kind of increase it as we go into the lining so that our lining is a little bit smaller than our exterior. And then I'm going to trim down the bottom of my lining. And then we're just going to repeat on the other side. Connor. All right. So we're gonna add that together. All right, and now it's time to put right sides together. So I'm going to be putting the interior into the exterior. I just find that's a lot easier to maneuver. Pressing all of that open, make sure you don't have any holes, any skipped stitches, whatnot. Make sure your zipper doesn't come undone. And then I like the zipper pocket to be on the back of the bag. Tuck your zipper in. And then start lining up those layers. And this is where, to me, it's gonna get a little tricky. It's like, which way do you want these seams to go? All right, looking at the pictures, it looks like she folds the seams out, which is the way they kind of want to naturally sit. You just wanna make sure you're lining those up accurately. Alright, clipping all those pieces together. Everything lines up beautifully, so that's exciting. And then it's up to you if you want to sew with the interior face up or the exterior face up. I'm clipping it from both directions because I don't know. I may even sew from a few different directions to baste everything together and then top stitch. But I'm thinking this way up. This looks good. And then you can kind of follow that interfacing. And slow around the outside edge. You want to come down and you want to make sure you're catching where you sewed your side panels together and pivot around. And I am adding a little back stitch as I'm pivoting into those areas. And again, I'm following the curve of my stabilizer as I sew around the outer edge. Your strap connectors, make sure they're folded down. And then make sure that you caught all of your stitches around that top edge. Yep. And then we're going to trim just a little snip into those corners. If you want to trim up your seams, you can. But yeah, I'm just going to add a little snip into that corner. But do not cut through your fabric. That'd be bad. That would not be good. And it couldn't hurt to like trim these curves too, actually. Then we're going to flip it out, top stitch, close it up, and then we're going to add the handles. All right, let's turn it out. All right, so I'm turning the bag through the opening in my lining, not my zipper pocket. So pull your lining first out of the way. You don't want to have to pull both through at like the same time. So grab the bottom of your exterior first. And you want to go carefully but quickly. If you're using a material that might crease, you want to go kind of fast. So once you have the exterior through, then you can get the interior pushed through. And then we'll start pressing open those seams. You can see how nice that piping looks. Good job. And there's that luggage sleeve. You can go ahead and close that up. Piping looks good. And then carefully along the side, pressing through. And at that top curve, I'm taking my hand, pressing along the seam. Then I'll unzip my zipper pocket. If you need to, you can top stitch the bag first. I don't like to do that. I like to top stitch and then be done. So I'm going to close the bottom. I'm pulling the lining back through the zipper pocket, just the part that's open in the bottom. And we're going to sew down that seam. Pinch these layers together, add some clips. And sew that shut. You can press that lining inside the bag. Oh wow, I love it. But before we close it completely, make sure you're pressing out your seams. Like this curve here, you didn't quite have it pressed out. Roll the seams back and forth if you need to. Got some pretty bulky areas here at the top because of the stabilizer I used. I've got 2 layers pressed right next to each other. And with my vinyl, it's kind of a lot. This machine can handle it, but just be wary of that. Maybe use a lighter or a thinner interfacing at that top panel, I should say, on the lining. I'm rolling this seam so that the lining stays inside the bag. All right, and now I can close that turning hole because I know that my exterior looks good. And this is where I like to add my brand woven label. Press the zipper pocket in. And zip it up so that you know you closed it. And I just like to set the lining in the bag, make sure everything is pressed nicely. Is looking good. Oh, did you hear that snap? Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. I was worried about using this vinyl as like a contrast, but I think it looks really good. I can't wait to add the handles, but I know I have to sew it up first. But I love this slip pocket. Fits my phone perfectly. And you could add like a lip gloss in there or something. Super cute. All right. Let's top stitch. Here's what the inside looks like. Make sure your strap connectors are facing down. Make sure your bobbin is fairly full so that you know you can get through this. And I'm just going to press the bag down and flat. My stitch length is still set to a 4.5. I think that's fine. Keep it consistent. And just go slow, keeping your needle in where you can. Pressing flat. kind of hand cranking as I go, just to be sure that everything is stopping and starting where I want it to. All right, I'm getting close to the magnetic snap, so just be careful, go slow. Your zipper tape is out of the way. Needle in the fabric where you can. This is our last corner. Then pull your threads to one side. Eek. So then it's time to add our handles and our zipper pull, our zipper end. So you can see there's that zipper panel. Let me close it. That is what it's looking like. Super cute. So I want to trim my zipper down to probably about here. I want it to open wide enough, but not too wide. And then I have another screwdriver I wanted to try, but it's upstairs. Alright, so peel off your paste film. I mean, I guess it's up to you. You could leave it on and let your customer do that. Might feel fancy, but peel it off. If you want to, you can add a little bit of glue to this part. Nope. Beep, beep, boop, 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 boop. The worst noise in the world. Okay, there we go. That is attached. So there is our exterior all top stitch. Now we can rivet on our handles. All right. So I'm not using any kind of hardware on the ends of my zipper. Nope. On the ends of my straps. So I just want to make sure I trim them to be a nice flat edge if they're not already. You could use edge coat if you wanted. And then I'm gonna grab a hole punch. And punch out these holes. And then I'm going to mark these holes on the strap, punch them out, and then add the rivets. So you're just gonna need 4 holes in each end of the strap and 2 rivets per strap. Oh, I missed one. There you go. Now it's time to punch those holes. Start at the top. And you can use a handheld punch or a screw punch or your press punch. Just punch it. Just punch it. Make sure you test out the holes for your vinyl thickness and hardware thickness as well before you go too crazy. I say, not having tested mine before I went too crazy. We'll find out. So yeah, 4 on each side. You go under and up. I like to put my post through the back side. Toto. Dorothy's watching Totoro. She loves Totoro. Oh my goodness, look at these handles. They look so good. I didn't punch out those holes. Hilarious. I thought I did. I truly am obsessed with these handles. Oh my gosh. I absolutely love the length I chose too. I'm going to switch out one of these caps. It's a little lame looking, before I actually, well, maybe I can't. Dang, it's just clicked in place and I can't get it off. 4 caps, 4 posts. So I didn't make too many changes to this pattern. I actually really enjoyed it as well. Cutting it out wasn't too bad. It took me a minute to get used to the cut list and the fact that the pattern pieces are separate from the actual pattern. I know some companies do that, but I just like it all in one file or I'll misplace stuff. So make sure you print the cut list, which is in the actual instructions, and then the pattern pieces are separate. All right, I will rivet those on, but look at those handles. Oh, I love it. All right, and then we are at the rivet press. I am using a cam press with the Buckle Guy 9.2 millimeter rivet setter. This is my favorite rivet setter to use. I feel like I don't get wonky rivets and it presses them absolutely beautifully. I like to give it a small wiggle to make sure it's in place and then press. So small wiggle, press. And then just make sure you're pressing all of them. I've definitely done it before where like I forgot one or I thought I pressed one side and I didn't because I was too excited. Alrighty. Those handles are my favorite, absolute favorite part of this pattern. All right, so that is it for the Hexatote from Sewfisticated Crafts. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you check out their patterns. They have a ton of patterns. This is supposed to be like a travel bag, but this is a really good everyday bag, I feel like. I'm not sure where I would add connectors for a crossbody strap, maybe on the side panel. You could do another like hidden connector there, or you could just do a D-ring running along that side panel. But I know that this pattern does say you can like fold in those side panels to give the bag a different shape. But they're not really going to stay folded in unless you had like 2 snaps on the side that you could snap in to place. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you're not already subscribed, I would love it if you would do so, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.